Hello viewers, this is your host and I am here with my new video. In this video we are going to learn how to create pivot table. A normal table is a combination of n number of rows and columns, whereas a pivot table is not only a normal table but it is a dynamic table which has got n number of rows and columns together. So as I stated, a pivot table is a dynamic table and not a simple normal table. So first thing is it's dynamic table. It is very much user friendly and it reveals summary, analysis and results as desired by the user. So this is very dynamic. As and when whatever is required it can be demanded and the pivot table delivers. So these are the two basic differences between a normal table and a pivot table. A normal table has got or needs to be fed in with n number of formulas and filters, whereas in a pivot table the formulae and filters are mostly inbuilt. So since these are inbuilt, it is not required for the user to go on editing, right? So let us get into what are the requirements of a pivot table. So there are three basic requirements of the pivot table. The first one is a pivot table should have column headings. So column headings are must. No row or column should be blank. This is second important requirement. And the third one is there should not be any no total or subtotal of rows and columns. So these are the three basic fundamental requirements of pivot table creation. So the database which is used for pivot table creation should meet all these three requirements. Well, now let us get on to, we have learned about the difference between normal table and the pivot table, the significance of the pivot table, its dynamics, and what are the requirements of the pivot table. Once we are through with this, let us see how a pivot table can be created. So let's get on to pivot table creation, and while we do that, I'll show, just because one row here in the database is empty, how the pivot table gets affected. So as a demo, I'll show you a pivot table creation here. So once I have clicked onto it, the table range is clicked or taken up by the Excel by itself, and when I say create it into a new worksheet, it creates here. And when I say add or see the names, you see here the names appear, which are only these three just above the truncated or the empty row here. So it is very much important that we don't have such kind of empty rows in our database. By giving a demo, I have explained you how or why a empty row or empty column should not be there in a database which will be used for creating a pivot table. Now let us get on to how a pivot table can be created. I click anywhere on the database. Now this database is completely foolproof. All the cells are filled in here. There are no blank rows and no blank columns, as well as the column headings are very much available here. So this is a database of some airline for the passengers, and let us analyze or create a pivot table using this database. Now database can be of two types. One is a range and another one can be a table. I'll first demonstrate you how to create a pivot table using a range. So in this case, the range here available is from cell A1 to cell J32. Okay, this is very small database. There are databases which run for tons and tons of columns and rows. So with this small database, let's get on to how to create a pivot table. I say insert, and in insert there are options here: pivot table, the second option is recommended pivot table, and the third option is table. So if I click on to recommended table, pivot tables, Excel by default gives certain pivot tables which can be created here, and a user can either make a point to choose from this or else go ahead with creation of a pivot table by himself. So when a pivot table is to be created and the option is chosen, it asks for select a table or range, and here by default it has checked or it has created a range wherein I had clicked earlier. So I had clicked on to D6 cell, and now the complete table or the database which was available around it has been chosen, the range has been chosen, and there it is. So I can either go ahead with this or I can manually choose the range. Now, not only a database or a range can be chosen from the given worksheet, but by using an external data source, one can choose range from external data source. External data source can be Excel file somewhere onto a server or in the cloud. Fine. So right now I'm going to select this range and go ahead with creation of the pivot table. The next option it asks is, does the pivot table needs to be created in a new worksheet or in the existing worksheet? If I choose to create it in existing worksheet, it will ask for location where it needs to be created, and when I click this option, I can opt and choose the cell where the pivot table can be created. Right now I'm going to say create a new worksheet, and let's get on to it. Now choose whether you want to analyze multiple tables. So one can create multiple tables by creating database or a pivot table through data model. Right now I'm going to say new worksheet, and there it is. I say OK, and the pivot table gets created. In a pivot table, there are two portions. One is the actual portion of the table, and the other portion on the right side here you see are the pivot table fields. So basically, this pivot table field has got five portions. This is portion number one, wherein the fields are seen. The portion number two, where the the rows are seen. The portion number three, where columns are seen. Portion number four is where value cells are seen, and portion number five, that is the filters those can be applied. So let us go ahead with one by one and see how those impact. So now I choose to add the name field here, and as soon as I click onto name, it gets added into the rows field or the rows area, and here are the names of the passengers which are derived from the database. This is how one can start creating pivot table by choosing the fields and adding them into the areas where they can be or they need to be added. So as I explained, these are the five areas, which the first area is having the list of the fields which can be added into the pivot table. The second one, what needs to be into the rows can be added into this. By default, if I choose to click onto this, it goes into the rows area here. So now in this table, one can see the passenger's name and the flight number here appearing one underneath another, so on and so forth. One can go on clicking onto this, and as and when whatever field is required in the pivot table, it can be chosen from here. One can go ahead choosing further fields like country, gender, meal, and all. So I have chosen all this, and by default if you see, all these fields have been getting added into the rows area one underneath another. Now when I click on to ticket number, it goes into the values area by default, because any column which is of number format is by default added to the values. Same thing happens to the ticket price, discount, and tax. So there it is. Those go into these cells or this column values area, and one by one they go on appearing here onto the pivot table area. Now one can see some of the ticket number is appearing as the addition of the ticket number. By default, one does not require it to be a sum, and it can be changed into another another choice of representation, and here one can, by right clicking onto the cell, choose the values by sum, count, average, and other possible formula. So I'm going to choose here count, and as soon as I do that, it shows the ticket number count for every individual. Now in case if I don't require some some of these fields I can opt to click onto it and remove it out, or I can opt to toggle it. So I don't require this, and I am removing the gender field from the table. Same thing I can do with flights, meal type, and country. So once done, a user can go further on to decide what fields are required and how they can be managed. Now viewers, all this time I have been explaining you how a pivot table can be created by choosing a range. Well, there is a disadvantage or a shortcoming of choosing a range. In case if I wish to add any database here, say some values here, further on values, or say I want to add a person here, say I am adding a passenger's detail here, say B blah blah male, okay, say India, okay, say wage, okay, if his travel date is say 23rd 4 2021, okay, the ticket number is say something like this, then cost is say 550, then there is a discount of say 20, and then there is a tax of say 30. Once done, if I go to the pivot table, I need to see this detail of RAM here, which is not possible unless and until it is manually added into the pivot table. Now if I click onto the pivot table, this analyze and design options are on. If I click outside, those go off. At the same time, the field zone here on the right side also vanishes. So I click here, then I say analyze, and I say refresh. Refresh all. As soon as I say refresh all, it refreshes, but I don't see the addition of the extra row that has been added here for RAM. The reason being that the range still happens to be the same which was chosen earlier. So if I go to analyze and I choose the range here, select, if I choose this change data source here and change data source, I say that I go back over here, and now you see the last row is not yet added into this range. I have to personally go and choose the complete range here, and once done I say OK. As soon as it is done, now we can see the details of the last passenger added into the row has appeared here. So this is the disadvantage of doing or creating a pivot table by choosing a range, and I'll demo you what is the other way and a better way of doing it. Before we go for the next portion of this video wherein I'll show you how to create a pivot table in a different way, let me tell you how the pivot table settings can be done. So in the file option here, one can go to options, and in options one can choose data and edit default layout. In edit default layout, one can see the pivot table options, and this can be set up from here how a pivot table can be created. Fine. So this is how a pivot table can be created. The options of how a pivot table can be formatted and how it can be created using a data range is what I have demonstrated till now. Let us go on to another example or another way of creating a pivot table, which in certain way is better than creating a pivot table by using data range. Now I have opened the same file again, but now in this we are going to create a pivot table by using other option. So when I say insert, as I already explained you, there are three options here: recommended pivot table, I explained you; the pivot table creation, I explained you; and the third option is table. So when I click somewhere on the database here, as I have chosen to click onto the cell I4, now I say table, and once I say table, it asks where is the data of your table, and by default it has chosen this data from A1 to J32. And when I say my table has got headers, there are the headers here, so it has chosen the headers also, and I say OK. As soon as the table is created, I have an option of renaming it by going here, and now I'm going to rename it as airplane. Okay, so this is the name of my table. You now see there are multiple formats or multiple ways of designing the formats here, and I want to choose a format here, a simple one, so that now this is a table that has been created here. One can go to data and also say table from range and create a table. So these are two ways of creating a table. Once the table is created, now I choose or I opt to create a pivot table here. I say insert, and now the table option is not activated since the table is already created. The table can be created by clicking onto Insert tab and then Table option, or by choosing Ctrl T. So now once the table is created, I say Insert Pivot Table, and here now it says choose the data that you want to analyze, and by default it has chosen a table whose name is airplane as we created it. Once done, I choose the option of New Worksheet. I have explained you all other options already. So I say new worksheet and say one. Okay, there it is. The table is there. The pivot table now can be added with the fields as and what are required. So now I choose name, I choose the country, and I choose, say, a ticket number. So now with this all three fields, or rather I'll add the further three fields also here, which are the numerical formats. There is the table ready at our discretion. Now, as I already said, sum of the ticket number is not required. I am selecting a cell on in it, right clicking it and say show summarize values by count, and there is the count. So now I am having a table here wherein I have got a subtotal of every individual here, the name of the individual, the nationality of the individual, the count of the ticket against that name, and so on and so forth. So now this is how a pivot table can be created. In our next video, I'll be explaining you how to use pivot table for various options and various formatting. Before that, let me explain you certain basics of the pivot table, how it can be used here. Now, as soon as I click outside the pivot table, the field zone has gone off and the analyze and design options are also gone off. As soon as I click on it, all the three come again back onto your screen. Now, if I want to analyze this data, I can choose to analyze it, say analyze, and I say clear. As soon as I clear, everything can be cleared and there it goes off. So once again, when I click here, the fields come here and I can opt to toggle between the field list, yes and no, between the field headers and all other things. So let me choose the name, say flight, gender, and now I say date, ticket number, ticket price, discount and tax. These are the fields I have chosen. Now if you see, these are all possible options here. I can choose right click and choose to expand and collapse the entire field as and when I require it. So I say collapse, here it is. I see now the details of every individual here, all 33 passengers. The grand total is here. I will choose to go here as per the count, and there is a count of 31 passengers. There is a sum of the ticket price and the grand total is at the bottom. I can choose to see or hide this grand total by choosing design and grand totals off for rows and columns. There it is, it has gone off. As soon as I say grand totals on for rows and columns, it comes on. So there it is. So I am seeing the sum of discount, the sum of tax. There it is in the grand total for all these 31 passengers. Now, if I choose to add the filter here, how do I use it? Now, I'm going to choose the country as a part of the filter here. So I'm going to choose this and drag into the filters. So as soon as I see onto the pivot table side, I see the country has appeared as a filter. I can add other options also as filter, like I'll choose to have the flight as a filter, and there it is, it goes into the filter here. So now I have two filters, one is country based filter and another is flight based filter. So if at all I want to, as a user, I want to analyze that what are the passengers, who are the passengers, and what is the database of the passengers traveling for America. As soon as I choose it, I see the three passengers here. The count of the ticket number, that is 3, that is the passengers who are traveling is 3. Sum of the total price is 2021. Some of the discount is 154.5 and so on. This is how I can choose for the American travelers, and in that if I want to know what is the option or what are the details of the passengers flying on to say flight number A2547 and B2354. I can choose here, select multiple items, and I can choose the two options or the two flights about which I want to know what are the details. So once these are applied, these are the details here of the passengers who are traveling on these two flights. So if I choose for multiple items and I choose for say only one flight here and say okay, there it is, no one is traveling on A2547 flight. So all of them are traveling on this flight. There it is, and this is how a user can analyze it. If I choose some other flights, there they are. There are only three passengers. And in case now, if I want to understand as to which other country passengers I am interested, I can choose from here. So I choose America, India, and say Germany, and I say OK. So as soon as I choose that, now they are giving the pivot table is giving me the details of the passengers from those three countries who are traveling onto these three flights. So if I choose to remove this, there it is. Now it gives the details of only other two flights on which the passengers from these chosen countries are flying. This way one can toggle and make options or choose options as to how they can be analyzed and understood from these filters. So if I now select and opt to remove the filters, I have choice to remove it and add it here. So if I choose to put the flights here onto the columns and the country onto the columns, there it is, the database now demonstrates or displays the details for those passengers who are traveling on those two flights also. So here it is. So column labels, here I see count of the ticket number of C blah 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 and C blah blah total, and this is how one can use, but it is not very user friendly to have these columns here, so better to choose it in the row, and there they are into the row. Now next thing what I'm going to explain you is one can shift amongst these choices of the fields and decide which field should go where. So if I want the flight to be followed by the name, there it is, I have chosen to put it there. Now for a moment I'm going to remove all the filters. I'm going to remove all the filters and put the toggle here. So there are the row labels, completely all passengers there. So as you see on the screen, the filter are still applied here. And I see on the right side in the field section here, the country filter is on and the flight filter is still on. I can click over here, say analyze, select, or rather I can say clear, and I can say clear filters. Once done, the filters are off here now, and I can see the database for all these passengers for the count of the ticket and the sum of the ticket. Now in case if I want the country or the gender to appear here, I can, in the value cell, I can put the gender here, but now the gender will here be only as a count of the gender and not as male or female or either or. So this is how a value cell can be edited or can be processed. Now any kind of value cells here cannot be edited. If I double click in onto it, it creates another pivot table and give me the details of that value here. If I go here and I choose to switch on or switch off this or edit it, which is very much possible here, and I can show the details for this as and what is required. Right, so no value cell here can be edited. In any case, the title of these things can be very much edited, or the value field settings can be also done by double clicking it. Now I have chosen to have it count. I showed it earlier how the value cell can be defined or the value field setting can be done. Now this is another way that I am showing you. Double click onto the title and you will be able to decide what exactly you can go ahead with. And when I say average, there it is. It is giving an error because it cannot be averaged out, and average will be divided by 0, so it is giving an error of 0. So whenever you are choosing a choice, be careful that the correct choice is chosen as relevant to your requirements. Fine. So this is how one can choose here. Now, if at all I go to my table here and if I add a value here, say as we did earlier, now let me say I'm going to add a value, say Dick. This is a passenger name. Again, he's traveling on this flight. Say he's male. He's from Britain. Okay, he's vegetarian. Okay, he's traveling on 23rd of April. His ticket number is 57849 something. The cost is 550. There is discount of 20 units and tax of 25 units. Once this is done, now I go to the sheet of the pivot table and check for it. I don't see that value appears here. I go to analyze and I say refresh, refresh all. So once the refreshment is done, there it is, the value of Dick has appeared here, and this is how, as I explained earlier, is the benefit of using data table. So anything that is added, edited, modified, revised in the data table by default gets updated into pivot table as a single simple click of refresh button. This is how a refresh can be used here, and the data table can be easily processed, and the same thing can reflect in the pivot table within split of a second, right? So fine. So this is how a data table, a pivot table can be created for multiple users or multiple databases. With this, I will come to the end of this video right now. In the next video, we'll see further options of pivot tables which can be used by a user. So friends, by the time I'm back with the next video, I request you to practice onto the creation of the pivot tables and learn the simple things which give out lot of output and save lot of efforts of the users by using the technology and the Excel helping hand. If you like this video, please express your like on the YouTube channel and share this video with your friends and people who need this knowledge to use. Do subscribe the channel if you are not subscribed yet, and I look forward to be with you soon. Till then, bye bye.